So I have pretty much picked out my entire TBR for this month already, and I'm just really hoping I can match it up to the prompts that come up on this today. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is the November round of my TBR game, which is inspired by the childhood game of M.A.S.H. So for anyone who is new here and hasn't seen one of these videos before, I am going to link a playlist down below, but just to give you a little bit of context as to what this is my TBR game. As I said, it is inspired by the childhood game of M.A.S.H, which you would normally use to kind of decide what your life is going to be in the future. It's supposed to predict what your life is going to be. I use it to dictate my reading life. So I have prompts behind each of these cards. They're in 4 different sections. I use a random number generator to work my way around the board and to eliminate a prompt each time, leaving only one in each section, and that is a prompt that I use to pick my reading for the month. There are 4 regular prompts. There is also a chance that I can add extra ones to this, so if I get a +1 card, I have to pick an extra prompt. There is also a rule involving colours, so each of these prompts has a colour that it is written in, and if the same colour comes up twice, I also have to pick an extra prompt. So there's 4 basic, there could potentially be 6, and then I have also got M.A.S.H in the middle as well, which is the final prompt I pick, and that stands for mansion, apartment, shack, house. In my version of the game, a mansion is a big book, an apartment is a small book, a shack is a book I've been putting off, and house is a mood read. I think that is pretty much everything, other than to now tell you how I did last month and also just give you a little bit of heads up on some required reads for the month. So let's start with last month. This was my TBR for the month of October. I am filming this on the 27th, so I still have some days left, and I have read everything up to here. I have got about half of this one left, but I'm listening to the audiobook, so I've got about 5 hours. I'll get that one finished, no problem. I haven't started this one yet, but I'm starting it today, and I do think I will be able to finish this. So I'm not going to give myself a punishment because I'm pretty sure that I will finish this. I will say, spoiler alert for my wrap up, I haven't read anything else other than my TBR this month. So I'm going to get this done, but not very much else because it has not been an easy month. So yeah, October hasn't been a great month. I ended up ill for a lot of it, which really put a damper on my reading. But November should be good. So November is generally a month I look forward to. November is my birthday month. My birthday is right in the middle of the month. It's the 14th. So it is my birthday month. I like to spread it out as a full thing. I actually this year have 2 weeks off work in the run up to my birthday. So I'm literally off from November 1st. Well, I'm off from October 31st actually, right up until November 15th. I go back on the 16th. So I have got plenty of time to get some extra reading in. I do have some plans during those 2 weeks, but part of my plans is just to read as much as physically possible. So that also coincides with a readathon that I will be participating in this month. So I took a month off from doing any readathons in October, but I'm right back on it in November. I'm participating in Royal Readathon, which is hosted by the lovely Becca and Liv. I will link both of their channels down below, as well as the announcement video. And this is a readathon which is inspired by Disney. There has been a few different rounds of it so far, but this is the first one I'll be participating in. So this one is all inspired by fairies, and there are various prompts. There are 6 of them in total. They're all inspired by different fairy characters in the world of Disney. And yeah, I have a TBR in mind that is picked specifically for those prompts, and also just for some books that I'd be wanting to read anyway, to do with new releases that are coming out and series that I'm in the middle of, and ones that are on like priority TBRs or self-destruct TBRs, all of that sort of stuff. So I can see it in front of me. I've got a stack of 7 books actually that I want to get onto my TBR. So I'm going to attempt to match all of those up to these prompts. What I will do is I will pick my TBR M.A.S.H, and then I will talk you through any extras that I need to add on in order to meet my Royal Readathon TBR, because I'm pretty much not changing that. If it doesn't match up with TBR M.A.S.H, I will just have to add some extra reads. Like I said, I do have plenty of time to read this month, so although looking at it is already a fairly big stack, I think I'll be okay to add a few extras. Right, I think that is pretty much everything. Normally I forget something. Normally it is required reads though, which, yeah, I've told you about the readathon. I'm not participating in any sort of book clubs or anything at the minute. So without further ado, I will get on with TBR M.A.S.H. Let me go and grab my laptop and then get a random number generator and we can get going. So I always put my parameters as between 5 and 15, and this time we have got 14, pretty much as near enough as high as we can go. So let us see how this goes, shall we? As always, you guys don't need to see me count. Let's speed this up. We have our first prompt. Let's see what it is and pray that it is kind to me. Of course, the first one that I pick is a +1. So the thing is that I'm not actually too mad about this because, like I said, I had 7 books on my TBR anyway. So if I can use this to get one of my extras, that would be great. So what I'm going to do is pick one of these ones in the middle. Well, actually 2 of these ones, because I need to pick one to replace that and then also one for the +1. So let's figure out which prompts I'm actually using, shall we? So it's slightly different with the extra ones. I just pick whichever one it actually lands on because I might need these again later. So the first one is, it's pet pick, which is really cute because that means that I use my dog to pick the book that I'm going to read. The only issue is that my dog is currently downstairs asleep. So what I will have to do is insert a clip. Now I am definitely going to use this to my own advantage without a doubt. What I will probably do is anything that is left over that I wanted to get on my Royal Readathon TBR, I will give him as an option. If there are a couple left, I will give him a few. If there is only one, I suppose I'll have to put it with something else as well. But I will, like I said, insert a clip of whichever book it is that Harry picked. Okay, so fingers crossed Harry was nice to me. Let's pick the other one that I need for the +1 prompt. This is actually, I just saw this as I turned it around. This is actually really good. Normally I would hate if this prompt came up because it is not my go-to genre, but we have sci-fi. So I'm going to go and grab the book I'm going to pick for this and I will explain why I'm excited for this one to come up in a second. So for sci-fi, I will be reading, or reread as the case is, Aurora Rising by M.A.H and J. Kristoff. So, like I said, I have read this before. It's a sci-fi that is basically about this sort of star pupil at some sort of space cadet academy, and he is graduating, he's supposed to get his own team to captain, and then something happens and he ends up getting all the sort of dregs that no one actually wanted to be paired with. Then they end up going on this mission where they encounter this spaceship where they believe that everyone is going to be dead on board, but actually there is one girl that is left over and alive, and they don't quite know what her story is or how she managed to survive. And that's kind of the start of the series, and actually the final one in the trilogy is due out in November. So I've read this one and I did enjoy it, but for some reason, I don't know why, I never picked up the sequel. I ended up buying it earlier on this year because I decided that I did actually want to finish the series, but I do think I could do with a refresher of this one before I move on to Aurora Burning. So I do have the audiobook, so I'll probably listen to it more because I've already read it, so I don't need to be sort of too fully concentrating on it if I kind of have it on while I'm doing other things as well, because I know actually one of the things I need to do while I've got time off is just completely like sort out my room, so this will be quite good to have on while I do that. And yes, I am actually excited to reread this and then to kind of carry on with the series. And this actually does fall into one of the Royal Readathon prompts. So this fits into the Genie prompt, which is to read a book with found family. And this, I believe, was actually on Becca's recommendations video. So I'm definitely going to use this if that's what one of the creators of the Readathon has told me to read as a found family book. So yes, you may end up seeing, if I can get it on there, the second book in this series on the TBR as well. That is one of my plans. This is why I have 7 books of our Royal Readathon TBR rather than 6, is because I knew I needed to read this one in order to read Aurora Burning, and it might even get to 8 because I might just binge read the entire series. It is a theme with me with J. Kristoff series. So yes, I will be reading this one. I'm quite happy that sci-fi came up. Okay, next prompt. We have another prompt. Let us see what it is. Oh, going to pick the wrong one, which is helpful. And this is a retelling. This is actually going really well. I wasn't sure how this was going to go, but There are two reasons why this is really good. So one of them is that one of the prompts on Royal Readathon is actually Fairy Godmother, which is to read a classic story, which basically retelling works perfectly for that. And there is a book that I very much want to read. Again, the sequel is coming out soon, and I recently bought the first one because I got an arc of the sequel and realised I didn't actually have the first one, so I should probably read that before I read the sequel. So let me go and grab that and I will explain why it fits this prompt and also the Royal Readathon prompt. So for this I will be reading These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. So this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling. So let me just read you the synopsis actually. It says, the year is 1926 and Shanghai hums to the tune of debauchery. A blood feud between two gangs runs the streets red, leaving the city in chaos. At the heart of it is 18-year-old Juliet Kai, a former flapper who has returned to assume her role as proud heir of the Scarlet Gang, a network of criminals far above the law. Their only rivals in power are the White Flowers, who have fought the Scarlets for generations, and behind every move is their heir, Roma Montagov, Juliet's first love and first betrayal. But when gangsters on both sides show signs of instability culminating in clawing their own throats out, the people start to whisper of a contagion and madness of a monster in the shadows. As the deaths stack up, Juliet and Roma must set their guns and grudges aside and work together, for if they can't stop this mayhem, then there will be no city left for either to rule. It does say it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in the 1920s Shanghai with rival gangs and a monster. So very excited to read this one. It's been on my radar for a while. For some reason I never bought it when it first came out. A lot of people got it in Fairy Loot. I'm not subscribed to Fairy Loot, so I just never ended up picking it up. Now I own it. I have an arc of the sequel. I've also pre-ordered the sequel because I really do think I'm going to love this book. So this is definitely a retelling. It's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, which means it is a classic storyline for the Fairy Godmother prompt. It's working well. We're on track, and we haven't had any multiple colours so far, so I don't need to pick any extras. Let's crack on with the next pick, shall we? Right, we have got the next prompt, which is this one up here, which is going to be fantasy, and it is still a different colour. We're doing well. So fantasy is an easy one to pick, and I'm actually just looking. I have a few. I'm trying to figure out which one would be better to pick because it would be less likely to spoil something. Basically what it is I don't want to pick something that then it's going to be like the only book that will fit another prompt if I need that for one of these. So I'm gonna decide. Be back in 1 second. Okay, so I've decided to go with This Savage Song by V. Schwab. So this one is a book that I have also read before, and I am also rereading so I can read the sequel. So basically I read this years ago and for some reason never picked up the sequel, which I really don't understand because I really loved this book, and V. Schwab is one of my favourite authors. As we all know, I've mentioned it many times. I've used her for the favourite author prompt many times. This is basically, I'm going to read you the synopsis of this because I always struggle to give a synopsis like out of my own head, and I don't know why. But anyway, Kate Harker and August Flynn are heirs to a divided city, a grisly metropolis where the violence has begun to create real and deadly monsters. All Kate wants is to be as ruthless as her father, who lets the monsters roam free and makes the inhabitants pay for his protection. August just wants to be human, as good-hearted as his own father, but his curse is to be what the humans fear. The thin truce that keeps the Harker and Flynn families at peace is crumbling, and an assassination attempt forces Kate and August into a tenuous alliance. But how long will they survive in a city where no one is safe and the monsters are real? So yes, it's about monsters. It's definitely fantasy, and like I said, I would very much like to read our Dark Duet. Again, spoiler alert, that will hopefully be on this TBR later on because it is also something that fits a Royal Readathon prompt. This one is going to be fulfilling the prompt of Tinkerbell, which is to reread a favourite so the story never dies. So that is my reread, and yes, works quite well for this. Okay, we're going well. Hopefully we've got one more prompt to pick, one more regular prompt. Hopefully we carry on going well, and then we'll see what M.A.S.H brings us, shall we? Okay, last prompt. Okay, I am going to have to pick an extra one, but it does work. This is first in a series, so what I will do is I will go and grab the one that I'm going to pick, and then I will pick the extra one. It looks like we are having a 7-book TBR, so hopefully this means that I'm just going to get all my Royal Readathon ones on here. Anyway, let me go and grab the book. So for this, I will be reading Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nian. So this one is one that I've owned for a while that I've just never read. It's on my 5-star predictions video. It is on my priority TBR for the end of the year video. It is one that I don't know why I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read you the synopsis again. So, each year, 8 beautiful girls are chosen as paper girls to serve the king. It's the highest honour they could hope for and the most demeaning. This year, there's a 9th, and instead of paper, she's made of fire. Lei is a member of the paper caste, the lowest and most persecuted class of people in Ikara. 10 years ago, her mother was snatched by the royal guards and her fate remains unknown. Now the guards are back and this time it's Lei thereafter. The girl with the golden eyes, whose rumoured beauty has piqued the king's interest. Over weeks of training in the opulent but oppressive palace, Lei and 8 other girls learn the skills and charm that befit a king's consort. There, Lei does the unthinkable. She falls in love. Her forbidden romance becomes enmeshed with an explosive plot that threatens her world's entire way of life, and Lei, still the wide-eyed country girl at heart, must decide how far she's willing to go for justice and revenge. I'm very excited about this. Like I said, I've been excited about it for a while. I just have never picked it up. So I'm glad that there is something spurring me on to read it this month. It does also fit a Royal Readathon prompt because so far all my TBR. So this fits Flora, which is to read a book with a beautiful cover. We cannot deny that this cover is beautiful. I've actually just bought the Fairy Loot. This is a Fairy Loot edition, and I've just bought the Fairy Loot edition of the 3rd one because the cover is still beautiful and I couldn't resist it. So yes, definitely a beautiful colour. Definitely fits first in the series because, like I said, I've just ordered the 3rd one in the series. So I will be reading this one this month. Okay, so I need to pick my extra one because I had the same colour come up twice. I've got 2 greens, so let's just pick that as well. So this one says blurb, which basically means that you have the little blurbs on the covers of books that are by other authors. This one ideally should be blurbed by one of my favourite authors. So we will have a look. Yeah, there are 3 books left that I want to pick, so hopefully one of them has a blurb that will work for this. Let me go and check. We knew I was going to run into a problem somewhere, didn't we? So, the 3 books that I have left to pick from my Royal Readathon TBR, one of them has got all blurbs that are from, like, publications. One of them is most publications and then one author that I've never read from. And then the other one has got 2 authors on there. One of them, I have read one of their books, but I wouldn't call them a favourite author. And the other one could potentially be a favourite author because it's Samantha Shannon. And once I eventually get around to reading her books, I think she might be, but I haven't read anything by her yet. So I'm going to have to pick something else. And I've just realised what is coming this month that could really work for this, but I need to see if I can find a picture of the cover to figure this out. Right, I'm going to do some investigating, bear with me one sec. So, I've done some investigating. Basically, I should be receiving in the next week or so the TJ Klune set from Illumicrate, and Under the Whispering Door is his new release that I'm very excited to read. And this is the Waterstones edition that somebody has posted a picture of on Instagram. So that is the UK edition, which is what I'm going to count. And there is a little sticker on here that says praise for A House in the Cerulean Sea, and it says Simply Perfect by V. Schwab, who is one of my favourite authors, as we have already discussed. So I am going to tweak this a little bit. It does not fit onto my Royal Readathon TBR at all, but it is one of the books that I would have been trying to read anyway. So I will be reading Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I'm actually quite happy about this. Right, I have one more to pick. Let us decide which I will be picking from my M.A.S.H picks. I'm really happy with how that just went, because basically Shaq would not have worked. I do not have short books on this Royal Readathon TBR. Putting Off wouldn't have worked because it would have done had I not already put Girls of Paper and Fire on my TBR. But Mansion, that one works out perfect because, well, if you've watched any of my other TBRs recently, you'll know which author I started reading from a few months ago, and I'm slowly but surely working my way through. all of her books, and she does not write short books. So for my mansion prompt, I will be continuing on with the 16 book series that I started. I will actually be starting a new trilogy within that series. I will be reading the live ship traders, and I will be starting with Ship of Magic. So yes, I'm reading the Relevant the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. I'm not going to give you a synopsis on this because I don't actually want to read the back, because I know that Robin Hobb synopsises can be a little bit too spoilery at times, so I don't want to read it. I know that there are ships that actually like come alive, I believe. I know I've heard very, very good things about this series. I know this is the series where a lot of people sort of really fell in love with Robin Hobb's writing. I actually gave all of the Farseer trilogy 5 stars, so if this is the one that other people who gave that less then gave 5 stars, if this is a series that they all loved, great, sign me up for this. I am very excited to read it. So yes, and yeah, it's definitely a mansion book. This one is, God, nearly 900 pages. Great. This will be one of the 2 weeks off reads, definitely. Hopefully be able to power through it in a couple of days. And I did forget to say that for Royal Readathon, this will be fulfilling the Merryweather prompt, which is to read a book with a disagreement. Because while I don't know too much about the synopsis, I cannot imagine a Robin Hobb book where there is not some sort of disagreement. It is a world where there is generally quite a lot of disagreements and fights and things happening, so I'm just going to assume that it is. I honestly could not imagine that I'm wrong about that, so I'm just going to assume. So for my TBR so far, we've got these, plus, what is that book called? Under the Whispering Door, I could not remember the name, plus also one more from Pet Pick. So, I've got a fair few. I still have 2 left to go on my Royal Readathon TBR. So let me quickly just wrap up what already fits on my Royal Readathon TBR, and then I will tell you what the other 2 are. And to be honest, one of those is probably the book that my dog's picked, because why would I give him any other options? So, Ship of Magic is going to be for Merryweather, which is a book with a disagreement. Girls of Paper and Fire is for Flora, which is a book with a beautiful cover. This Savage Song is for Tinkerbell, which is to reread a book. These Violent Delights is for Fairy Godmother, which is to read a book with a classic story. And Aurora Rising is for Gina, which is to read a book with found family vibes. So technically there is actually only one Royal Readathon prompt that I still need to fulfill, and that is for Fauna, which is to read a book with a fixer-upper character in it. Now I was really struggling with what would fit for this, because the recommendations videos, none of the ones that were on there sort of were things that I was particularly interested in. I was thinking of trying to fit a sort of romance, second chance romance type book in this and just have something quick. But then in one of my last videos, when I mentioned that I was going to be rereading this Savage Song hopefully for my Royal Readathon TBR, Becca actually commented on that and told me that A Dark Duet would actually fit for Fauna, so it would fit for a fixer-upper character. So again, who am I going to trust but the creator of the readathon? And I will be reading this one as my fixer-upper character. I do have one more book that I will be planning to read this month, and that one is going to be Aurora Burning. Like I said, I would like to carry on with the Aurora cycle. I would also like to fit in Aurora's End as well. This one would kind of fit onto Royal Readathon TBR because obviously it would fit Found Family, but I'm already going to have covered it. So yeah, just hoping to read this one in general. These will have been the 2 books that I gave Harry to pick from earlier. So one of them will definitely be on my TBR, but the other one I will be reading anyway. I mean, if this one comes up, that's great because it fits into Royal Readathon, and then this one I could potentially push to December if I wanted to. But if this one's on my TBR, I will definitely have to read both. So it works either way. Okay, so this is Harry. Harry is very excited because he's just seen me go into his food drawer and he wants to know what's happening. Harry has a choice to make. He has to choose between Aurora Burning and Our Dark Duet, which are 2 sequels that I need to read. These are the 2. He's getting a bit impatient that he needs to choose between. What I'm going to do is put one of his biscuits in front of each book and say, go on. Let him go and choose one. Okay, Aurora Burning it is. I mean, he's chosen both, obviously. But goodbye. Goodbye. There we go. Thank you for choosing my book for me. Okay, back to the original video. And now my TBR looks a little bit more like this, plus Under the Whispering Door. So this is like a fairly big stack, I won't lie. But to be honest, actually most of these books aren't actually that big. The only one that really is Ship of Magic, which I will be reading and listening to the audiobook at the same time, so I should be fine with that. I normally actually manage to fly through Hob a lot quicker than I would expect. So yeah, I'm actually really excited about this TBR. There's a lot of books that I've maybe been putting off, but I'm actually still really excited to read. There's some rereads in there as well, which is good, and some series that I love and can't wait to carry on with. So yes, I'm very excited about this. Did I not tell you I liked the month of November? Right, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Let me know how your November TBR looks. Are you doing Royal Readathon? Have you picked what you're going to read for it? I am very excited to take part in this readathon actually, and yeah, just excited for the month as a whole. So yes, I will see you guys soon with a new video. Bye!